Hey guys, Monarch Symphony here again. This is going to be a kind of catch-up video. Not a lot of crazy stuff in it. It's just going to kind of be going over everything I've been experiencing since the end of my recovery period, those 6 weeks, to now. And it's going to cover a lot of things. It's going to kind of cover emotions. It's going to cover food tolerances. It's going to cover being sick. It's going to cover some weird things I've been feeling. There will be some bits where I kind of explain things. So if you're like particularly sensitive about graphic details like vomiting or something, and it's not going to be crazy graphic, it's just going to be an explanation. Feel free to skip past that part or feel free to just ignore this video. I would recommend not, because I have a lot of things I would like to say that I think would be helpful for people. But again, it's not mandatory you watch this one. I just think it would be nice to know if I was going into this to kind of know this beforehand. And I kind of do wish I did know this beforehand, to be honest with you. Not that it would have changed my decision, but it would have helped me prepare better. Coming out of that recovery period, the first week of being back on regular foods, I unfortunately got super sick. I got really sick. Because I had started working with the kids again at my facility I work at. So I got sick from the kids, and then I got sick from my folks here, and then I got sick from friends. Being in the hospital environment for how long I was in, because I had so many problems before the surgery, going into the surgery and then staying home for all those months, being in a safe, clean environment, going back to work got me sick instantly. With that, I couldn't really tolerate or eat anything that week, regardless of even if it was like the simple stuff. I tried my hardest. I took my pills the best I could, the bariatric vitamins that you need. I took my vitamin D, and I took basically everything I could to try and help supplement it. But I was still just feeling awful. And I noticed I was particularly sensitive throat-wise when I was like super sinus infection-y. And it was the situations of like I would cough and gag because of that, because there's like something against my throat, and then that would proceed to sometimes force me to vomit if I was coughing enough. And this cycle basically continued for a few days before I was even able to tolerate real food to any true degree. Sorry, throat's a little dry. But with that, I was kind of learning a little bit more on the side while I wasn't feeling awful. So when I finally came out of being sick, ironically, a week later, I was able to start trying to get back into hard foods again. And by hard foods, I mean like the more typical foods like steaks and stuff, not just ground stuff and mashed stuff. I will say I started to get a real craving to try just like the little bits of things I used to always enjoy, like rice, noodles, and all that other, like fries and pastas. And I noticed I was just really feeling awful with them. Like, I would eat the noodles and the noodles were good, but then I'd like eat the rice. I just didn't feel great with the rice, or like eat the French fries and just didn't really feel great with them. And that all is because like starches and breads expand in your stomach. And that makes sense because you'll never be able to just they absorb liquid, so they are going to absorb stuff in your stomach and then they're going to grow. The unfortunate part about that really kind of sucked is I just wasn't feeling great all the time. I was kind of feeling awful. I was trying these things I used to really enjoy, and I was feeling awful afterwards. I kind of hit the full realization exactly what was the problem after. Just recently I had gone out and gotten a burger without the bread, no fries. I removed the onions because I'm still kind of getting used to onions again. Surprisingly enough, the stomach hasn't built up the bacteria that can eat that away real quick. Brief tangent, stomach biomes, bacteria, all that fun jazz. When you are avoiding a certain type of food for a long time, the bacteria that are good at breaking down that food eventually die off. So when you have that food again after a long time, those bacteria aren't there to break it down. So the things like the pastas and starches and breads that I literally wasn't able to have for such a long time, they weren't digesting well at all. So I was just feeling awful, feeling bad, feeling crappy, and it just sucked. But just recently I had only the burger patty with like the cheese, some pickles and stuff on it. And that was it. And I was fine. I felt great. I was even able to go to work and not feel crappy at work. And it felt fine. And it kind of reminded me that I am limited now. And I always knew I was going to be limited, but it was kind of that realization, the actual butting of the heads of my want versus the ability to, and the fact the ability just kind of destroyed the want because the ability just was not there, kind of sucked. And that was, of course, causing a lot of mental, like, upset nature, just kind of like a little bit of depression was kicking in. I didn't even really want to go out to eat with family at that point. Like, they were offering me to go out to dinner, and I super hesitant. I basically was like saying no and stuff, and eventually I kind of well, I can't think of the term. I just decided sure, and then I went along with it, and it was like an eggs benedict. I was able to tolerate an eggs benedict. That was fine. And then I had so much to take home, but after the eggs benedict, I was still kind of not feeling too great, but I was still feeling good compared to like when I was eating fries. Even though there was a little bit of a muffin, it was so thin, it wasn't really that brutal on the stomach. The problem came because it had the side of the hashed browns, and that was a problem because I tried to have some of those and I just noticed that they sucked. It wasn't that they tasted bad. It was more along the lines that I just felt awful after them, and they just didn't feel great settling in my stomach. So that was kind of a rough thing to learn and get into. And I kind of was getting super depressed about it and super down. And I was starting to get to the point where that little regret kicked in, what they refer to as buyer's remorse. But just recently, again, I had that patty with it, and I felt great at work, and I didn't really miss the bread of it, which was kind of interesting. Now, I may again later try like noodles or something, because I'm a big fan of like Oriental style noodles, whether it's Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Taiwanese, whatever the noodle is. I'm a big fan of the Eastern style of noodles. So I may try that again in small doses, but I just noticed I felt better overall when I didn't include those starches in my food, which is unfortunate, but it's just kind of how things are now, and I don't really have a choice in that matter. I know that if I were to do it again, I would still get the surgery because I was not at the point in my life where I could make that decision safely of just, hey, I'm just going to eat less. Because I've said that many times before, and it never got to the point where I could. And it sucked. So I needed the surgery because I was never going to fix it. And it's not even like necessarily the other things around me that were stopping it. It wasn't like I was a super lazy person. I was working 8 hours a day with kids. So it's not like I was lazy or anything. It was just I ate too much. So coming back to the situation now, I'm going to start explaining kind of what that feeling was. And if you're going to be squeamish, you can go ahead and probably just end the video now. I'm just going to kind of talk about that sensation and then give a brief how do you do. But this is going to be an explanation of exactly what I was feeling. So hopefully it'll help those out that are willing to stay here and listen through it. But those of you who are squeamish, please feel free to go. And I hope you have a good day. For those who've stayed, however, a few days ago was like the moment I really realized just the limitations. Like I've had this sensation before where I'd feel like my throat kind of tighten, and then like I didn't really know how to describe the feeling. It was weird. But a few days ago, I had the first experience where I was eating and I had a little bit of fries and then I had the burger patty. Well, after I finished the burger patty and I had the little fries before it, I was noticing I was getting this weird feeling in my throat again, and I kind of was just assuming it was part of the process. But then it kept coming, and I was not feeling well. Well, eventually I decided to rush to the bathroom just to make sure, and I will stress this, it didn't feel like throwing up. That was the thing that was the most concerning about this. It didn't feel like I was throwing up. When you pour a soda too fast or a beer too fast, and you get that layer of foam that explodes up to the top, that's kind of what it felt like, but in food form. And it felt like it was pushing up. And it was really, really just not good feeling. It felt awful. And I'm there huddled over the toilet, and again, it's not true vomit, so there was no like bile or anything. It was just me literally regurgitating a bunch of the food that I had just eaten, because the stuff that was in my stomach expanded and just pushed it back up, refused to allow it in. So I'm there literally coughing up the food chunks back into the toilet, and I'm just sitting there in awe, realizing just the limitations, and it felt awful. It was an uncomfortable feeling because I didn't get the relief that you would get while throwing up, because you feel better after throwing up. I didn't get the relief from that. It was still an awful feeling, but it was gone at least. So it wasn't getting any worse, but it never really felt like it got better. And it took hours to feel better. So that kind of sucked. Again, it wasn't true vomit because there was like no liquid with it, really. It was just the food chunks. And I'm sorry if that's a little graphic, but I just want you to be aware of what I've experienced. And it really sucked and was really unfortunate, and I didn't like that feeling. It was something that kind of sobered me up to the fact that I need to just not mess with like the starches right now. At least until my stomach builds up a consistency. Because I can handle noodles. I've tested noodles. But I guess it was something with the potatoes, the fries, that every time I've had them, I've kind of noticed the stomach wasn't very happy. And I should have figured that out from the breakfast hashed browns I had that other day. But I didn't, so I still gambled with the fries that day, and it was awful. I hated it. I love the flavor. I love the taste. Hated how it made me feel. So that's kind of really all I have to throw on this one. The depression's been hitting super hard because I've realized my limitations. I've realized exactly what's going on. I'm sorry about that beep, if you happen to hear that. And that depression hit real hard. And that's part of the emotional, hormones that you're getting from the surgery being so traumatizing to your body. So yeah, that was unfortunate. And alongside the hormones was getting used to the new foods, learning to tolerate the new foods, learning what you can enjoy still. I have a lot of hiccups right now. That's another thing I notice. After I eat, I'll get hiccups. Not sure where that's coming from. Not like I'm drinking anything crazy carbonated or eating fast or anything. I'll just notice I get hiccups afterwards. That's a weird one. But yeah, be very careful with what you eat if you go in the surgery, because it will hurt you and it will just not feel great. And you'll go through a bunch of emotional stuff. And I'm personally thankful I have people around who can help me out through that. Must really suck being alone and doing this, because then you're just alone with your thoughts, and that's not good. That'll be bad. So I really encourage you, if you get this, to find a group you can vent with. I recently got to share with my group that I had lost over 113 total so far. They were all super happy about it, and they were all super excited. A bunch of other people were sharing their stories on it as well, and it was kind of reassuring and nice to know that there are others who, of course, support, but understand the journey, and being able to share that experience with them is honestly an undescribable, yeah, undescribable situation. It's nice to have that sort of community. Um, so always encourage you to find people to talk to about it. It's kind of all I had today. A little bit long of a video. The last bit, a little graphic, but very important that it's said, because I want you all to be aware of what I kind of wish I knew going into it. But that's one of those experiences you live and you learn. I was super determined on the fact that, oh no, I'm going to eat fries. I'll just eat a little bit of them. Or I'm going to eat bread. I'm just going to eat a little bit of it. Even that little bit's just going to not make you feel great. It's going to make you feel awful. So, I'm sure once all the emotional stuff is passed, because like even now I'm still feeling some of it. I'm sure once the emotional stuff has passed, I'm not even going to be worried about that all anymore. I'll probably be past it and not even worry. But yeah, kind of bummed out. But that's part of the journey, and that's part of kind of getting better. I notice every day I'm getting stronger. Sorry, my eye is really itchy. Every day I'm getting better and stronger. I'm getting more ready for work. Sorry, the dogs are barking. I'm just going to go ahead and end the video now. But yeah, just make sure you keep an eye on yourself and don't push your stomach too hard if you get the surgery. It's very important you take your time and listen to what your stomach is telling you. Trust in your gut on this. It knows what it's going to be able to handle. So thank you all for watching, and I really hope you have a good day and you take all this to heart if you've stuck to this end. Thank you.